Hello everyone, I'm Forrest McFreelava, and this is the Ethics of Victoria 2, number 4A. We are playing as the pragmatic Confederate States of America, and we are pretty much just going through the colonization of Africa. We are doing pretty well with that. We can just turn a bunch of places into actual colonies, opposed to just protectorates. We are about a year out from being able to go to war with the United States again. And I am pretty decently worried that that means we're about a year out from being forced to go to war with the United States again, as they have been pretty consistent about trying to attack us. I say that, but they've attacked us one time, but that's really all it takes. If they keep thinking that they're able to defeat us, and they keep trying for it, then as long as we aren't successful in defending ourselves, that's really all it'll take, is one time where they do defeat us, for us to really just lose. At least we'll lose a lot, and that's obviously not optimal. So for us to maximize our future potential, the best thing we can do is, one, stay alive, and two, make sure we stay more powerful than the United States of America. It looks like they have some reactionary rebellions. It doesn't seem like it's enough to actually overthrow their state, which is unfortunate. Let's see, we can actually check right here what our ruling parties, or potential ruling parties, believe. Either laissez-faire or outright state capitalism, so we're going to stick with laissez-faire. And laissez-faire has been doing okay for us. Our industry is not nearly as good as I would like it to be. However, it is doing decently well. We will go ahead and not ally Peru, at least not yet. Let's go ahead and look. Our sphere of influence is growing pretty well. It's been a few days since I played this, so I'm not entirely sure where we're at as far as influencing states goes. Although, okay, so we're influencing Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, which honestly Ecuador is pretty small, Peru, and Venezuela. So we already have Venezuela and Brazil. Colombia looks like it's kind of a dead end. It is currently in the sphere of France, who have built the Panama Canal. I would really like to get control over that at some point, but we'll leave that for the distant future. Alright, the United States does have a little bit of Central America. They have a decent amount of influence there. We'll probably start influencing what's left of Mexico, since there's really no reason for us to go push even further into them, although that makes us compete with the United States even more. So that's a little annoying. Go ahead and create these protectorates. And we're very close to finishing off our scramble for Africa. Well, I mean, the scramble portion's already done. Now it's just the consolidation of Africa. So we'll go ahead and just consolidate all of that. And pretty soon we'll be able to take over that interior portion. In an ideal world, I would like to go conquer Zanzibar and then also kick the Portuguese out. Well, really, it would just be nice to have as much of Africa as we possibly could. But we're running into an area where that's a little problematic. And the reason for that is the biggest limitation we have right now is infamy. The United States is probably going to keep attacking us if we give them any opportunity. And really, even if we don't, they'll probably just kind of seize at the opportunities they are able to find. So we're not really in the best position as far as that is concerned. Let's see, we'll go ahead and try to we'll just try to keep people not too socialist. Let's see. Administration efficiency we'll need in time. We should probably be focusing on our military techs, though, just since I do think that the United States is going to be coming after us with as much frequency as they're able to pull together. So let's also try to merge these armies into something coherent. It looks like we can build one unit of irregulars in North America. Alright, so this Hussar I don't believe actually provides any benefits in a few distinct ways. Namely, I don't think they'll actually help us with recon, and that's really the big purpose of having cavalry in our military. So we may want to just disband the Hussar, although it looks like we can get a decent-sized army just working well out of that. Let's see, this group will go ahead and split the irregular off. And that irregular we'll just use whenever it comes up to fight the Americans. Alright, they have 29 brigades, we have 41, so hopefully that'll discourage them from attacking us. Let's see. Do we have another army that needs that artillery that's rolling up? I guess this large army could use it. So we'll just move the other forces away. Alright. So, we are building some monitors. That's very good. We just leapt ahead to rank 6 among great powers. The United States is rank 5. That's a little annoying. Although, hopefully we will catch them in time. Now, they can declare war on us as soon as March of next year. So what we should be doing is getting our armies together. Do we have a navy that can transport these people? We do. It's right there. We'll send that back and go ahead and pluck up those forces, hopefully before it's too late. Now, I am acting very much as though I'm certain the United States is going to attack us. Really, we can't know that for sure. The only thing that I can say is that preparation is the most important thing. So as soon as January comes around, we should probably be investing in our military, getting all the way up to 100% just force readiness. And we still don't have a Pacific coast. That is probably going to be problematic in the long run. Let's not fund our navy since we can't afford it. We will have to, though, if it does turn to war. Alright, and there we go. It looks like we're pulling that off decently well. We have a minor deficit, but it isn't actually going through because we are having trouble buying all the goods necessary for our military. So that's kind of a good bad. Right, so this army is definitely lacking in infantry, and it has more dragoons than it needs. The United States is discrediting us in Mexico, which is annoying but understandable. And I didn't realize we had this entire army right there. The North Germans have become Germany. Austro-Hungary's become, well, it's become. Alright, so what should we do? Well, I guess we'll just keep getting ready for war. Realistically, I think it's about time that we stop actively targeting other nations. We're probably going to just stick to an era of more or less consolidation of what we already have. This force has so many dragoons. We'll just... See, I don't want to get rid of one that is undermanned anyway, since it won't really... Well, since we just can't build it back up again. We'll lose it in the next war. That's almost certain. So we'll just move this force back, get that engineer force. The United States could declare war on us right now, I believe. Yes, they could declare war with us as soon as right this second. So we're just going to hope that they can't. We can't justify a claim against them for taking a state, since that's up to 11 infamy, and we're only 8 infamy from actually just going over. A little bit less than that. We won't ally Transvaal, since they'll probably bring us into a war against the United Kingdom, and that's definitely something to avoid. Since as awesome as our empire is, it's nowhere near that powerful. Go ahead and turn these guys into protectorates, or colonial provinces. Okay, from protectorates to colonial provinces. And then we may as well just slide down through this area. It'll look kind of gross for right now, but... You know, we'll probably go to war with Ethiopia and just try to annex them. In order to do that, we'll need nationalism and imperialism, but it'll take us a little while to get there anyway. The United Kingdom doesn't want to ally us. We're allied to Germany, so that'll probably just dissuade the United States from attacking us, at least for the moment. It doesn't look like they have any great power allies, so that's pretty cool. We will ally Ecuador, since we're allying them in Peru anyway. And then we'll work through, get Bolivia, Argentina, Chile, all of them into our sphere if we're able to. You know, okay, we are friendly with Colombia, so we are doing well for that. And let's see, which army should we use to just bludgeon that small rebellion? We'll use this one, and hopefully that'll be decent enough. So I am tempted to just keep going to war, okay. Right, Spain. Spain declared war against us. I didn't anticipate this whatsoever. I wonder if the North Germans will even be able to get to them, if they'll be able to help us whatsoever. I mean, we don't have any armies in Africa. That was a tremendous oversight on my part. We do have a large amount of ironclads and things like that. Alright, we could pick up one of these armies, so we will do that. We'll combine these navies, and actually we'll just invade Cuba since it's close at hand. And the Spanish do have a considerable military force. The Germans don't actually appear to be doing very much. They only have 60 brigades. The Spanish have 45 and we have 42, so it's not like we're in a great position. Hopefully they don't have a considerable... Oh, and they do. I was going to say hopefully they don't have a considerable force in Cuba. Unfortunately, we weren't so lucky with that. We will bring these forces down. This is probably the prime opportunity for the United States to declare war on us. And that's something we're definitely going to have to pay attention to. Alright, and a massive popular uprising. So instead of fighting all of that, we will in fact just fight our own people for the next few minutes. I'm honestly very shocked by how, let's see, courageous, we'll say. How optimistic, perhaps. I don't want to just say how ballsy Spain is being, but they are being incredibly ballsy with this war declaration. Over Inner Mauritania at that, so just some random place that isn't even all that valuable. And they're going up against a large portion of the world to do so. They might even take it just because we don't have any forces on the entire continent, and the North Germans don't seem very able to help us. So yeah, that's not great. There was a crisis, but it didn't go through because everyone's busy. And it looks like we will be able to influence Mexico, so that's very nice. They're never really going to like us, but hopefully they'll put up with us. And, you know, we'll just kind of economically dominate them. But we'll stop militarily dominating them, now that we've got ourselves on solid footing, if we can just keep our people from rebelling. Which apparently is an issue. So American pan-nationalists, that's the thing I really didn't expect to have occur in our great power sort of role. So that's not optimal either. Let's see, we'll take this army and we'll start bringing it to bear against the Spanish. Go ahead and let the liberals get a little upset. We do need nationalism and imperialism. It is also going to be a considerable secondary priority to getting our military more under just solid footing. It would be great if we could recruit more people, but that doesn't really seem like it's the case at the moment. Alright, so we have to rapidly win this war against the Spanish before the Americans decide that now is their time, and they can come attack us. So we will split this navy in a few pieces. We will land in Santiago de Cuba. Hopefully that is going to be far enough away from the Spanish army that we're able to get another stack landed there. And it looks like they're not even charging at us. So that's very good. I did anticipate them doing so. And what's this? A whole bunch of hills, and that's the only mountainous province. So this should actually be fairly doable. I don't really want to attack the Spanish since they have a decent dig-in bonus just by the nature of them just chilling there this whole time. So what we'll probably do is pluck up this 18 stack, and we'll swap them out for the 30 stack we already have. And this will be a good deal of us just kind of baiting the Spanish. So let's see, what's the war score at right now? 7% because they are occupying us. We did win that one naval battle, which helps us somewhat. We'll go ahead and create this protectorate. And we'll scoot even further. And hopefully no one will take Etria. Alright, so let's bait the Spanish army into making some terrible mistake. And yeah, we will have to go over to Africa, but we'll take over their colonial possessions on the way. Alright, so we'll pull these guys out. And now they have been baited. Do we want our people to be more liberal? We already have a lot of liberal reforms passed. We don't really have any social reforms, and we do kind of want more social reforms. We'll just gain some liberals in the upper house. And now we can pass some reform. The people do want reform a little bit. We will pass... Well, we'll pass some non-secret ballots and things like that. The big ideal is really just going to be getting to a place where more people want to immigrate. So I probably should have done the... okay. Oh, we really should have been funding our Navy. I just didn't want to, because it's expensive. But losing the war is also expensive, so... Well, we'll find out how it goes. Alright, now they are attacking our army. We will go ahead and just drop these 30,000 men off. And then we're going to go rush back and pick up even more. Looks like our Navy is performing very admirably. Alright, and we've defeated the Spanish army. We can charge forward and occupy the rest of Cuba, and then we'll pluck up that army and send it over to Africa. And we can stop blockading Cuba, since we're about to take it over anyway. Alright, and we'll just go ahead and combine those two navies so it has a lower chance of just having everybody die. And then we'll drop off our, well, probably a good portion of our military force over here in Africa. What's the war score at right now? -2 due to battles. Doesn't look like the Germans are actually getting to Spain, which we didn't really anticipate that they would. The Spanish have 25 brigades left. Let's see, that's at least, well, at least 13, 14. So they might have half their army in Spain proper, so we won't actually go and invade them. We should probably build up even more transport ships, since obviously we do need that. And that should be good. We'll just build 10, and that'll carry even the largest... Okay, we won that. That's good. Hopefully they were transporting Spanish military personnel. No, they have 89 brigades all of a sudden? What? Okay, so they probably mobilized? Where was I seeing 20-something? Alright, well, they've almost certainly mobilized. Our Navy is taking a decent amount of attrition, which is not optimal. We will go ahead and upgrade our naval bases in Confederate Liberia. Unfortunately, it looks like other great powers are going to be taking that portion, and whatever happens, it's going to look gross. We'll go pluck up these guys from Cuba, and we're just going to hopefully maintain a defense somewhere. All the terrain is going to be really awful, but we can go hide out in the jungle, provided not everyone will die. And it doesn't look like everyone will die, so that's good. And as soon as we get a second army into position... Alright, as soon as we get a second army into position, then we should be fine. The Spanish have 39 ships, so let's actually just keep these guys in the naval base and hopefully not have them take too much money. Alright, and we're probably not going to take anything from Spain just because it's all very expensive and we need to worry a lot about our what's it called, our infamy. Alright, oh, and we will actually take this naval group back and we'll just combine them with the transports and use them just as escorts. Alright, so that should be enough. Fairly soon we'll be in a position to start making counterattacks against them. We are expanding our sphere of influence, and that's very nice. We should just go with wealth voting. I guess it doesn't matter. We'll get secret ballots first, since that's a less meaningful reform, and it'll just keep the people busy. I'll try to not ban slavery for a decent amount of time, just because we are the Confederates. Mexico likes us a little bit more. Looks like Persia's getting just beaten up. China isn't, though, so that's good. Alright. Where are our armies? On the way. We're very lucky that the United States has not declared war on us. Just outrageously lucky. Like, I honestly feel like I'm tempting fate by bringing it up as much as I am. Hopefully not. Alright, and hopefully the other navy, there it is. We'll just go ahead and get these guys all together. We'll bring this group right there, and they'll just meet up. Alright, now we'll just land you guys over here, and we can start, well, we'll go on like a defensive form of the offensive. So we'll try to rush up here. When will they get there? 25th. 25th as well. Let's not be that crazy with it. Alright, and we'll just stay in these two provinces. Well, actually, let's go around. We'll go around to these two provinces, and that looks like they're closer together in a real sort of sense, so that should help. We'll go ahead and create this protectorate. And yeah, so right there, they should be able to support one another fairly rapidly. And we have almost the entire Confederate army outside of the Confederate States of America, which is very risky. Alright, they are going to attack us. That's good news. And we'll go rush in. Looks like we should win this. Okay, we will give the British military access just because we kind of want to befriend them. Since obviously we befriended the Germans, and as cool as the Germans are, they're not really able to help us functionally in any of the wars we're likely to get into. Alright. And there we go, we've obliterated that Spanish army. We'll send the weaker of these stacks to go get rid of those. And we'll stop bringing armies over since we don't really need any further armies for what we're up to right now. And now we'll just unoccupy all of this territory, and yeah, we'll basically have won the war. Hopefully the Germans will just kind of peace out at this point, or at some point. Alright, we'll get army risk management, and then we can focus on, well, okay, let's get phenomenology, just for that sweet tech bonus. And yeah, we'll just kind of push forward. We should bring our other transport group over, though, just so we can, in an emergency, pull as many of our forces back to the actual Confederacy proper as possible, as quickly as we can. Alright, and we are hemorrhaging money, and it looks like a decent amount of our military has kind of just been disbanded, as there really wasn't anything else for them to do. That's one of the big problems with bringing undermanned army groups into combat, is they do tend to just disappear. Or I guess dissipate's a good word for it. Alright, at any rate, our objectives are coming through pretty well. I think we were trying to build a naval base up here, but it might have been stopped by the Spanish occupation, so we'll start again. We are really just blowing through our national savings, but that's better than taxing the rich or anything, especially with unemployment where it was at previously, but it looks like unemployment's gone down. At some point we're going to want to free the slaves just so we don't have to worry so much about our factories being undermanned. And yeah, at this point we could pretty much make peace, although we can't because we have to wait for the Germans, since they are the war leader. So that's a big issue with having the Germans as our ally of choice. Or I guess our ally of convenience at any rate. And I do believe we had extra dragoons hidden around somewhere, so it will eventually be able to switch them out for the army that is now without dragoons entirely. And this small force will stay and just deal with the rest of the war. We'll bring everybody else back, just since it doesn't really make sense to have all of our armies so far out of position. And there we do have those dragoons, so they'll go branch off and rejoin their comrades. Alright, and that stack will do the rest of the whole war fighting thing. Kind of surprised that Spain is still, you know, fighting this. Although I guess it's not too terribly surprising. My big worry is that they'll just bring more forces over and just prolong the war and maybe kill this one stack. And that's probably a very real fear. And look at that, we are just losing these units as they go take attrition. We can build 3 more forces though, so that is a good thing. We might want to be encouraging not craftsmen, but actually encouraging soldiers, just, you know, for the obvious sake of maintaining a national defense in a coherent manner as time goes on. We will just go ahead and combine these groups, and there we go. 2 decently sized armies, more or less together. We can probably cut funding to our navy now, since all the main naval battles of the war should be over. And we'll just keep this budget surplus long enough that we're able to ideally just build up our savings enough for if we need to do this sort of thing again in the future. Alright, so the Germans, not really the most helpful ally, still kind of nice to have. It would be nice to abandon the Germans, though, without it turning into some sort of horrible doomscape for our people. And we can't ally the UK since they're allied to Russia. Everyone seems to have great power allies, so we'll just have to keep the Germans for now, and it does seem to be doing a decent enough job of keeping the Americans off our backs. Well, at any rate, this is going decent enough. 13th in industrial power. We should probably free the slaves pretty soon. We could use their help in the industrial workforce, and I do believe freeing them will really increase our tax base considerably. I am tempted to ask for Timbuktu, although I'm not entirely sure if that's a great idea. I do want it, just for borders' sake. But that's a pretty poor reason to take on, I think, 10 infamy, when 10 infamy could also get us Ethiopia if we went for it. Although we do need nationalism and imperialism, but then we should go after Ethiopia. Jacobin rebels are rising up, so that's another good reason we have our army back in our homeland. Hopefully once we free the slaves, people will be a little less upset with our government. And we really do have very low militancy, so you wouldn't anticipate as many rebellions as we've been facing. So that's pretty odd. The United States seems to be more or less done with all of their rebellions. I wonder how long that'll stay the case. I guess that remains to be seen. We will keep our armies close to the American capital, just because it's been fairly successful for us so far to just do some mass assault on their capital and hope for the best. In Africa, what do we need? We need probably artillery. I don't want to go too much artillery, since we might lose all of the infantry in that army, just due to them all being undermanned terribly. Oh, looks like we can build another group. Tempted to just build a backup dragoon, so we'll do that. We've been banned from Mexico, and Honduras is bankrupt. Ecuador, we can get them in our sphere now, so that's pretty cool. Looks like Japan is a better great power than we are. How terrible. And we should get Peru in just a second, so that'll be nice. Kind of wish the Spanish would give up already. This is really slowing down our infamy burn rate. That's not the coolest thing in the universe. Go ahead and add these dudes to our sphere of influence. And now we will start influencing Bolivia and Argentina. And we'll go ahead and just have our influence spread across that whole continent, more or less. Preferably much more than less. Alright, and our research rate has gone up. We'll go ahead and get nationalism and imperialism. And our suppression points are pretty full. I really wish we could make peace already. Not really sure what's holding it up. We'll go ahead and be pluralistic, since most people are. Looks like the Spanish Navy is fighting our allies. That's kind of annoying. And we are occupying Cuba, so we should probably move our army out of there. Go ahead and upset the liberals a little more. And then, now that we do have an issue with needing more people rather than needing more factories, the next reform we should pass will be, will definitely be giving our people, well, giving the slaves freedom, really. We will ally Argentina, just since we're trying to make them like us anyway. And they already like Brazil, so that's very good, and that gets us alliances from Venezuela down to the bottom of South America. Egypt is at war with Ethiopia. That's pretty awful. What are they trying to do? Ethiopian War of Amhara 6... Okay, wait a minute. Oh, so they want to just take over Amhara from Ethiopia. Let's not let that happen. We'll give them war subsidies and hope for the best. They will receive 0 each day. Okay. Well, we'll see how that goes. I'm really hoping for Ethiopia, kind of anticipating an Egyptian victory, though. We'll have our people be more conservative rather than reactionary. And maybe at this point we should just bring our navy over and blockade the Spanish homeland. Oh, and America's really influencing the Mexicans more than we are. Really, Mexico should not be friends with either of us, since both nations are really just deeply, deeply attached to Mexican cores. Oh well, I guess one bad friend is terrible than 2 good enemies. Or something like that. I don't know. That might not make much sense. Essentially, though, Mexico is going to be in a better place if they do cozy up with one of the American republics, rather than just have both American republics be their enemy. Alright, and it looks like the Spanish actually do have a considerable navy, which is threatening. Yeah, are we going to just lose this out loud? It kind of feels like it. In no small part because we weren't really funding our navy. Yeah, we are. We are just losing this. We're hemorrhaging ships. Alright, so that wasn't effective in any way, shape, or form. On the bright side, it did help with our deficit. So yeah, we'll probably focus a little bit more on technologies that really matter for the to the state for the near term. Merchants harassed, cut down to size. Okay, well we could cut them down to spies, down to size. And that would give us their tax income, so we'll just go ahead and do that. Worst case, we just don't get it. Valley of the Kings. Egypt says yes. Thank you, Egypt. Go ahead and do that. And let's see, what else do we need to do? Alright, well, we'll get up our administrative efficiency. We already have nationalism and imperialism. We just got that, so hopefully we will get Manifest Destiny. And that should unlock all of those fancy things. And then we do need to get naval techs at some point if we're going to be a legitimate empire. Until then, we'll just build 2 new groups of ironclads, and then we will actually fund our navy when it comes to it. Oh, we're at peace. I'm guessing we didn't actually cut them down to size, though. Although that would be pretty cool if we did. Nah, we didn't. It would show up somewhere over here as... Oh, wait. War indemnities. Awesome. Cool. Kind of shocked we got that. That's really nice. Alright, now we can just move back to worrying about our sphere of influence. And, yeah, really, that worked out pretty well then. Oh, you know, another big thing is that if we're lucky, what will end up happening is that when we release the slaves, a good portion of them should become soldiers. And then that'll really help us get the army up to a decent clip, and that should keep us competitive against the United States as time goes on. We just need to get to a point where our people are actually able to pass reforms. Alright, what's our navy looking like right now? Okay, they still have 11 transports. Some of them are clippers, though, which isn't great. Nevertheless, it should be good enough. We'll go ahead and bring these troops right back onto the homeland. And I am tempted to go to war one more time against the United States, just to be sure. Now, we could go after West Virginia, but it's not really that good of a state. It has 100,000 people total, and a lot of coal. So coal is good. I can't really tell. It's actually one of our top 5 domestically produced goods, though, so we don't really need coal at this point. What we might want to do is just go to war against Ethiopia. We could establish a protectorate out of them. Does anyone like Ethiopia? No one really likes Ethiopia. We would have to transport some of our armies back over to Europe, or to Africa, but that's okay. So we will go ahead and just pluck one up, and we'll have to do it one at a time right now, so we should also probably be building back up our steam transports for the second time in a very short amount of time. And we did take a lot of infamy, so that wasn't really worth it at all. Oh well, hopefully they have some soldier pops and we'll be able to take that over. Oh, Mexico's in the United States sphere of influence, that's kind of annoying. I do really want to take over Zanzibar, but at this point our infamy is so high that we really need to just hold off on any sort of foreign acts of aggression or anything like that. We could also be taxing our poor a little less, but we're not going to do that. Not for a while. Alright, and we have a big boost to our liberalism, but not enough to pass any reforms. And let's see, should we combine this group with anyone else to make an actual functional army? Probably is really the best answer to that one. So we'll combine these two groups and see how much we're able to just group them together. Looks like we have some Confederate reactionaries. This guy's going off to go deal with that. Let's see. We could get Army Risk Management. We'll hold off on that for right now. Guess we'll get Modern Central Bank. Our Navy techs that we do need to get aren't the most important right now. I'll go ahead and take this 21 stack back over to Africa. Where's the other Navy actually meeting up? We'll just take it over to Charleston. Alright, and that should take care of that. We don't really want to ally the Swedes, and pretty soon we'll be able to go into Great Wars, which means if we can get the British to decide they like us, we could ally them as well. So we'll get that up to plus 200. The United States has been pleasantly docile, and hopefully we'll be able to just go roll through Ethiopia in a moment. And there we go, we can roll through them right now if we're actually able to, which it doesn't seem like we will be until we get our armies over there. We'll just have to remember to declare war within a year, otherwise we'll have wasted that and taken infamy for nothing. Now, is it going to end up being better for us to go to war against Ethiopia for some random colonies than to fight one of our, well, really our traditional enemy, the United States of America? The fact of the matter is, I can't really answer that right now. It really remains to be seen whether or not they try to annex us again. If they do, then obviously we'll have made a terrible mistake. And there won't really be anything else for us to say about that, especially with a good portion of our military currently in Africa, quite far away from our homeland. So we are taking risks. That's really the thing, is you have to take risks at some point if you want to achieve anything. Go ahead and declare war and establish ourselves as protectorate. We'll go ahead and allow the French to waltz on through our country. I don't believe they can join a war against us if they have troops within our borders. I hope it doesn't come to that, but if it does, then at least we'll have that one little assurance. And it doesn't actually look like they're in any hurry to send their armies through our territory, so perhaps it doesn't matter too much. Although they are wrecking the Spanish, and the Spanish kind of deserve it, so, you know, good on you, France. Also, luckily, the Ethiopians went from their mountain hideout to, you know, a much worse hideout, but it looks like they're trying to go back. And we can't actually block them off, and we may have just slowed ourselves down enough that it made it impossible. So now they're back in the mountains, and that's a little inconvenient. We're just going to roll on through and hope that because they're uncivilized, they're also poor fighters. And they just retreated over into this plains, so we'll just go after them since that's a much, much better place to fight them than anywhere within their own country. And we've been banned from both Argentina and Mexico, so at least the United States is fighting us in a diplomatic theater now, as opposed to just rolling through and trying to annex us. And it does look like there are quite a few regiments being constructed in Ethiopia, so it does look as though we will get our recruitable population up somewhat. Oh, and we can go ahead and pass some healthcare reform or school systems. We'll go ahead and pass healthcare since it's less popular, just to keep people wanting reform. And that way it'll allow us to push through even more quickly. Looks like Austro-Hungary either gained or lost the West Sahara. Oh, okay, so France got it. That makes more sense. Long live the Confederate States of America. We gained one of our Mexican provinces as a core. And we will roll into that area so they can't create that soldier pop. Crisis over Romania. Cool stuff. And let's see, let's get Bolivia into this sphere of influence. We'll just make them friendly with us. Oh, the Algerians broke their alliance. They must be getting close to the American sphere. Alright, at any rate, we should be able to occupy at least enough of Ethiopia soon enough that we won't have to worry about them being able to raise armies and then having us destroy the soldier pops that we're trying to cultivate. So yeah, good times more or less in the Confederacy. One thing that I was considering doing, but I don't think it's actually going to be feasible, would have been to liberate various countries out of the United States of America. Now, the big reason I don't think that's feasible is if they get into the American sphere, they could just re-annex them, and then essentially what we would be doing is just spending 7 infamy to slightly inconvenience the United States. And although I am very worried of them trying to come in and annex us, I mean, I would rather, if we did fight them, we fought them in a way that actually benefited us, which is a pretty obvious thing, I suppose. We will go ahead and get a national bank, since that's not really too expensive. National banks used to just straightforward be a terrible idea. So is prohibition, at least, well, yeah, prohibition is just always a terrible idea unless you're trying really hard to pass reforms that your country just doesn't want to pass. And I suppose at some point we will want to do that, but I don't think our people will ever be moralistic enough to pass that. And a bunch of people are breaking their alliances with us. It seems like it's just because we've been at war with Ethiopia for so long. And we're going to go ahead and pass the abolition of slavery. For one, that'll make people want to move to our country a little bit more. But more so than that, it's to fill up our factories and tax our people and fill up our armies and all sorts of other reasons that are pretty decent, honestly. And it looks like that gave us 1 more brigade, so that's not actually very helpful, and it doesn't seem to have changed our tax income very much at all. Hopefully it fills up our factories, though. And who knows, perhaps it will. All the tea in the USA. Interesting, let's annex Ethiopia, and that gave us a ton of population. Alright, all poor strata. Okay, what is this even? The tea harvest is unusually large this year, and nowhere is it larger than in Kisumu. Oh, in the CSA. Right, okay. Well, we're just going to give our farmers some, just because we're good guys like that. And we're just slightly too late to get into Djibouti. So we're still going to compete for it, though, because I want it, and why would we allow the Italians or the Russians to take it? Alright, so we'll just bring these forces back over to the port. They should be able to go simultaneously. Maybe we shouldn't risk it, but we will risk it. And all of our old allies are rejoining us. Now let's just build up an entire army. That is just lovely that we can do that. Thanks, Ethiopia. Really does soothe my fears of just being eaten by the United States. And then we'll just keep investing in Djibouti so we can hopefully have really any ports at all touching the Indian Ocean. And yeah, so other than that, freeing the slaves wasn't really as big of an impact as I had hoped it would have been. But that's okay. We're just, yeah, I don't know. I guess really that's not the craziest thing. Oh, they want us to help us against, or they want us to help them against the French. Now, obviously we should do that for our ally. Yeah, I'm not actually going to, though. We'll just leave this up. We are not a powerful enough state, and God knows they didn't actually help us in the Spanish War. They just kind of chilled. And it looks like we were too slow, so they're both moving forward, and we're just kind of left in the dust. So at some point we do need to go take over Zanzibar, get us some ports. Although I guess it doesn't really matter all that much in reality, and they don't really have very much that's super important. Although getting a port over on this side of the world would really help. I suppose a better port to get would be to go after Sonora and get a Pacific Coast port. And eventually we could go after the Hawaiian Islands, but that's probably not going to happen, honestly. It looks like we're going to be a more southern-focused sort of country, focusing on Africa and Latin America. And maybe when great wars come about, we'll be able to focus on taking off some colonial possessions from the Europeans, but it really all just remains to be seen. At any rate, though, we are number 7 as far as great powers are concerned. We have a pretty decent amount of people working in our industry. We are making clerks, or focusing on clerks in one of our states, which maybe isn't the best focus right now. Where are we focusing on clerks anyway? I can't even see them. Oh, in Alabama. Well, we'll remove that focus since there's no one really in Alabama anyway. And instead we'll just encourage more craftsmen in Virginia. Get the liberals a little more conscious, and we can actually go ahead and put another focus as well. So we'll focus on North Carolina too, and just really pump out these craftsmen, get our industry score as high as we can. Portugal declared war on Zanzibar, which is deeply upsetting. And it looks like the Germans have been kicked out of Alsace-Lorraine. And all sorts of nonsense is going on with Romania. We can cut the UK down to size, although obviously we really can't. Norway has just been eaten partially. Alright, we can add Bolivia to our sphere of influence, so we're doing very well in that regard. Argentina's proving more of a fight, as is Mexico. We will start increasing our relations with Chile. And our sphere of influence is coming along quite nicely. We could influence the Spanish, but I don't really want to. Alright. So if we consider our position, our industry is really just being dwarfed by the United States. Migrations, oh wow, the US is getting a massive amount of immigrants, and we're not getting very many at all. So we need to consider what we are doing so terribly wrong. I mean, we need to pass reforms. That seems to be the key thing. And I'm not sure why we're passing so few relative to them. So that's worrying. Jacobin rebels are rising up all over the countryside. Why are our people so upset at us? I have no idea. What do we do about it? I also don't really have any good ideas. Where did that other stack of our troops go? Oh, it's still here. Alright, we'll bring them over. And then we'll just transport all of our armies out of Africa again. That might leave it undermanned. Although it's probably important that we keep our forces at least over here. At least a little bit. We'll lose militancy instead of consciousness. Hopefully that'll get people to stop revolting every other day. Hopefully. We'll bring this group and just use it to smash into that 33 stack, since that is going to be a big problem. Let's see, Argentina wants to ally us again. Oh god, that army went right for it. Alright, we need to just bring everyone. It looks like they're actually doing very well against it, so we may have overestimated their power. Alright, so that worked out. Let's see. I guess we'll just focus on just maintaining our focus on technology. Try to get some techs for our industry and all of that. We're doing fairly well economically, especially considering we're not taxing the rich whatsoever, but we are getting subsidized by the Spanish war reparations, and that's really helping quite a bit. Alright, which of you actually has troops? Alright, we'll pull these guys back. Alright, so that's all set up to be going well. We'll see how it really ends up going. Tons of closed down factories, not really problematic so long as people are staying in the workforce. We will lower our taxes on the poor a bit just because we can get away with it. And just keep shipping people back over. The United States has 48 brigades. We have 43, so we are maintaining something like parity. Although not really to the extent that I would like. Really, when 1890 comes about, that'll be a very good time for us, as we will be able to ally more people, and that's going to be very helpful. Go ahead and get some more immigrant attraction. So yeah, we're really underperforming compared to the United States, and that's problematic. And I really don't want to just reduce ourselves to the point where we occupy them until everyone moves, because that's the other game. Oh, okay, Cuba is independent and a civilized nation, so we'll just start influencing them. We will host a regional trade fair, because our empire deserves it. And build more armies, not entirely just in Africa, so that's good. The African colonies are really doing well to keep us a relevant country. So that is incredibly helpful. The Americans, though, are producing more regiments really just every day. And yeah, that's pretty worrying. Our people are also becoming more and more reactionary, probably because they were pretty keen on the idea of having slaves. Hopefully, not so much that they break the country. And really, we're just going to hope that we stop having so many just perennial revolution attempts. And I don't want to just give in to them, since that's obviously not optimal. And we also really can't declare war on the United States right now, although it would be amazing to do so. We could cut them down to size. That would get us a lot of infamy, but it would really help us. And it would also do a big amount to hinder them. Because then we could use their own success against them, and just use that kind of to leverage our own success. We'll go ahead and get expressionism, try to keep up our prestige, and just stay the great power of prestige. We will not ally the Swedes. Get ourselves even better healthcare. We can hopefully make up for their advantage in immigration just by having an advantage in our own domestic population staying alive and all of that. Although, who knows how likely that is to succeed in the long run. We can create more African groups. We will not do that just yet. We are more jingoistic, so that's a positive. What'll be interesting is if great wars do start occurring, if we will find ourselves on the opposite side of the United States, since we are going to try to ally the UK basically the day that we're able to. And Germany has been a fairly solid, if unhelpful, ally. So it all remains to be seen. There's a lot that could be in flux. Our conservative parties are still just dominating the elections. That's good for them, I suppose. We can ally Chile. And I guess, if we do ally the British, then it's not very likely that they will collapse in some tremendous manner, which is a little unfortunate, because getting British Canada as an independent state and getting them as our ally would be just immensely helpful. And the United States is the #4 ranking great power in the world, so we really should attack them, really at the first convenience. Switzerland offers an alliance. No reason at all to accept that. Oh man, I'm actually fairly concerned. We got a lot of prestige though from that regional trade fair, so that's very good. At this point we could try to go to war with the United States for the freedom of New England. And I think that would be the most, well, not New England, New York. We can free the Manhattan Commune and get them to have the entirety of New York State, which would really do a good job of hindering the US, provided they don't get them into their sphere. So let's see. Let's look a look. Migrations. Let's look a look. Let's take a look. Migrations, they are winning out loud. What else are they just dominating us in? Population density. It looks like they have some fairly dense populations just throughout. If we free New York City, though, that'll do a good job of cutting a good portion of their population away. I imagine a good bit of their industry is there. We could also free New England later. And I think that that's actually much more important to our long-term success than acquiring West Virginia. We are pretty much near the end of this episode in a reasonable sort of sense, so we'll probably not do that just yet. Prestige gain, that's good. We will actually go ahead and get this army risk management Let's see, we don't really have to worry about any of these important culture texts just yet. The United States only has 15 ships in their navy, though their army is starting to really just drastically eclipse our own. We'll build another entire army out of Africa. So it is really keeping us competitive, at least in a military sort of sense. And we'll just combine that with a single regiment raised out of our own country, or I guess out of the homeland. We could just start rallying everybody to that port instead of Monrovia, and that's a little bit closer. Alright, so the next month we'll begin justification of our war. We will liberate a country, and we'll just liberate the Manhattan Commune. Now here's a little trick: justify war. Free people is cheaper, and it gives them the entire state. If we were to liberate country, it would give them all of their cores, which is 11 infamy, and it would just be New York City. But free people will free them in the entirety of New York State. So we're going to do that one. Less infamy, and it achieves more. You'll notice I didn't actually select it just then. That's because it turns out it was 7.5 infamy, which I wasn't aware of. So we're going to wait 4 months, just to get down to the point where if it's immediately discovered, we aren't killing ourselves. And that'll actually probably be the direct end of the episode. It will also bring us fairly close to 1890 and the potential discovery of Great Wars. So what I might do is just not select it, and we'll have the episode end maybe a little early. That way we will still have more options when we come back at the dawn of the next episode. Other than that, though, things are going decently well. Our population is soaring pretty well, and that's very nice. Although none of our states are really all that large. Really, our most populous state has less people in it than New York City, which I suppose isn't the most unexpected thing. We should maybe tax our poor a little bit less. I don't know, it seems a little crazy. We won't do that. We'll keep our taxes right where they're at already. Now what we might do is just sort of stockpile resources so that when we do create more army units, we have all those resources ready to go. So that's probably a good idea. We could just... Oh, Jacobin rebels. Alright guys, go hunt those people down. See, that's really annoying. Our population should not be anywhere near as pissed off as they constantly are. It just doesn't make any real sense. So clearly our people are pretty upset in a way that our government is not addressing properly. And it's just a bunch of Jacobins, for one, which is interesting in its own little way. Alright, so there's not really much I can say about that other than hopefully this doesn't persist. Great wars have been discovered by the Netherlands, which means we should be able to form an alliance with the UK. They will not accept. Why will they not accept? Oh, because they don't really like us very much. And our infamy. And too many alliances. Okay, so that's not going to happen anytime soon, so we're probably going to have to just declare war on the United States alone and hope for the best as hard as we can. Now, is that really a winning strategy? Quite possibly no. And we do need to make more troops, since this army now does not have any infantry, which is not optimal. Kinda need infantry. So, let's see, we have a lot of troops we can produce in North America, 5 units in fact. So we will just go ahead and build a dragoon. Let's just go with 3 artillery and an infantry. We'll actually just build 2 artillery, the 1 infantry, and then we'll build another artillery in Africa since it's all we need for a full group there. Alright, and so we'll just group these 2 guys together. And then actually, wait a minute. We shouldn't be building any North American artillery. We just need infantry and a dragoon. So, okay, there we go. And that'll be a full army out of that. Go ahead and give our people... I guess that doesn't really matter what sort of electoral system they have. First past the post will work just well enough, I guess. And now we'll just enter the issue that modern America is facing. Whatever, man, first past the post. Nevertheless, it shouldn't be too problematic, and if it is too problematic, that'll be much later on and not really any concern of ours right now. We'll get organic chemistry, and now at this point it's pretty much a good time for us to end this episode. We maybe should have gone to war against the regular United States. We didn't do that. We will justify for the independence of New York. We could just conquer it, but that would be absolutely absurd just from a border perspective, although I suppose we do have a lot of Africa, which is a little absurd. But I feel like that'd somehow be a bit of a stretch if the Confederate States of America just also had New York City. Because really, at that point, if we just took over more and more of the US, we may as well just play a US playthrough. So, thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. We will hop right into our more evil sort of America and see how well they're doing just occupying the world. Have a great day.